Hey guys, welcome to an episode from New Zealand's biggest gap year, where a few years ago my partner Robin and I took an amazing road trip around New Zealand doing 365 days of 365 activities all across the country. And in this episode it brought us to Ashburton, where we headed to the Ashburton domain. Admittedly, not one of the best things to do in New Zealand, but when you're doing 365 days of 365 activities, you do tend to reach these sort of more mild activities like this one today. But nevertheless, check out what it's like in the experience that you're about to see in the video, and then join me toward the end of the video where we're going to go through some of the comments and questions that you guys had during the first time round that we published it. So see you toward the end of the video.
Today on our drive from Geraldine to Methven, our lunch stop is gonna be the beautiful Ashburton domain.
The gardens are like completely peaceful. We haven't seen a single soul. If anything, we only see more birds.
Today is one of those rare days where I failed to find us an activity. So you are not going to see our little activity counter at the bottom. We are just going to show you our awesome pit stop, the Ashburton domain, while we are driving toward the little township of Methven where more adventure awaits.
Although the Ashburton domain doesn't count as an official activity for us, it's still pretty awesome. There's so much to see here in between the huge duck ponds, there's a fitness trail, bushwalks, little waterfalls, and more sports field than you can shake a stick at. One of the first things that we're checking out is this duck pond, which is surrounded by these beautiful drooping willow trees that are reflecting in the water. And there's actually so many ducks here and other species of bird as well, so we're just having a relaxing stroll alongside the pond and watching all these wildlife. We're super pleased that we have managed to find this little pit stop, which is only about an hour away from Christchurch, and it's situated on one of the main highways through New Zealand, which is State Highway 1. And it's just a perfect example of the New Zealand city parks, which have always got a lot of effort put into them. There's usually so much to see, and you can literally spend a whole day here.
Everywhere you go in New Zealand, even in the middle of the city center like right here in Ashburton, bird life is always super abundant. New Zealand is literally filled with birds. After checking out the multiple duck ponds, we are moving along in the garden and we are stumbling into a beautiful flower garden. Bees and other insects are going crazy for the wealth of variety of flowers that there is right here. Between roses and camellias, there is a ton of beautiful and super colorful flowers. But the goal of our pit stop right here in the Ashburton domain is to find ourselves a great picnic spot. So we are still moving along, trying to find ourselves the best place to grab a bite. We are passing in front of beautiful flowers, absolutely gigantic trees. I mean, look at that one. It's taller than most of the buildings in the entire country. And we're also making our way through a lot of little areas which have little signs and tell us what the trees are. But finally we are stumbling upon a quaint little bridge in front of another duck pond, and it looks like the perfect spot for us.
So it's decided this bench is going to be our lunch stop for this afternoon, right in front of this quaint little duck pond, which actually has more ducks than the lake around the corner. Do these ducks not know about that lake? Anyway, after lunch we are moving on because there's actually more to explore in this absolutely huge Ashburton domain. There's 37 hectares to explore. Beyond all the streams and bushwalks, we find ourselves a little water wheel along the way as well, and of course more beautiful flower gardens. But we soon get distracted by a trail that leads into the bush, which looks pretty cool, and in here is a fitness track which we have to try out.
1, 2. What?
It hurts.
Yeah, so we are travel writers, not athletes, and that's pretty obvious. But the trail in itself is pretty cool. It goes through really thick, dense native bush, and it's pretty incredible to believe that we are right in the middle of the Ashburton city. It feels like we are back in the New Zealand wilderness. The next section that we find in the Ashburton domain is the Pine Tree Exotic Exhibition. So there is all the exotic pine trees that you can find here, and they're all marked with a little sign. It turned out that there's really a lot of things to see and do in the Ashburton domain. We could almost have done an activity here. So to wrap up our trip on the Ashburton domain, we are seeing more ponds with now seagulls. I think they have chased the ducks, and we are seeing a cricket game. This is a really favorite pastime here in New Zealand, and Kiwis are crazy about cricket. We quickly hop back into our van and start making our way to the little township of Methven, where we're going to be spending the next few days exploring the area and finding hopefully more activities.
Robin has been struggling this one for a couple of days now, but we really need to think outside the box to come up with today's activity. And we think so far outside the box that we can't even see the box anymore. The box is a dot to us, as Joey would say. I think it was a different phrase he used. That was a bad one. So we've thought so far outside the box that the box doesn't exist anymore. Scratch everything about boxes. I tried to think so far outside the box to think of a so far outside the box joke that the box is just flattened and put into the recycling bin. How far can I go with this one? This joke is more fun than the activity that we did today.
Please stop.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video to see what a pretty standard park in New Zealand is like. It's a very nice park, but as you can see, as we're about to see from the comments from this video, it is still a park and a few people are having a little bit of banter with us. So let's start with Chad and Steph, who are pretty optimistic. They're saying that park looked awesome. Definitely a great way to spend a day. Yeah, absolutely. And then we have Cairo Hawk saying, I live here and this is great. You make the domain sound way better than it is. I mean, we're pretty impressed by a lot of things that we're seeing in New Zealand, as you can see from most of our videos. But yeah, we found that park is probably better than most of the parks that, for instance, I've seen in the UK, for instance. Anna Witter says, this is so beautiful. Nice. Mixotonic says, I love Ashburton. Besties Online saying, I live there and I never thought of the Ashburton domain like that. Well, there you go. A new fresh perspective on the Ashburton domain. We have Why in the World saying, man, you're not kidding about hitting a wall. Ashburton domain. You literally went to the park. Lol. And then he gives us a lot more banter after that, which is a few chapters long, so we'll not go through that. But yeah, Ashburton domain, like I say, probably not the most exciting place to go in New Zealand, but a good way to break up the journey if you are travelling through the South Island, perhaps going to Christchurch, etc, etc. And we do have some more enticing things to do listed to do in Ashburton. If you head over to nzpocketguide.com, we have a beautiful article about the 10 things to do in Ashburton, which will give you some more ideas. We have done a lot more research and a lot more visiting of the town since New Zealand's biggest gap year, so you can find some more things to do there. In the meantime, if you do have any questions about traveling in New Zealand, you can put them in the comment section below or join us for one of our live Q&A sessions, which we do every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. They're a lot of fun, so make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell so you get notifications for when our live sessions are on. In the meantime, we'll see you next time.